38th chapter of the book of Tehillim, Mizmor LeDavid LeHazkir, a psalm of David for remembrance. This word LeHazkir is hard to understand exactly. Does it mean like, is it referring to maybe the blasts of the shofar or the trumpets, is according to one opinion. There are other opinions that say that it means it's supposed to be done with a meal offering, like in the Torah when it says the word Azkarta LaHashem. That's part of what's used in different places. So it's not clear exactly when it was used, but we'll see that this is a psalm is a pretty desperate one. It's somebody who is sick and lonely, and it's not written from the best place. Adonai, al beketz techa tochicheni uvechamatcha tiyasreni. God, don't rebuke me in your wrath and don't chastise me in your anger. People realize that they get rebuked in life, they get chastised, maybe what's called in the Talmud Yisurin, a sort of suffering, but there's Yisurin shel ahava. Sometimes, you get a little potch in order to do better. So we're saying here, when I'm punished, don't do it in your anger. Do it with kindness. Don't make it too hard. Don't make it too difficult. Ki chitzecha nichatuvi v'tinchat alai yadecha. For your arrows have fallen upon me and your hand has come down on me. Right? So I'm suffering, is what he's saying. I'm having trouble. Ein mitom bivsari mipnei za'amnecha. Ein shalom ba'atzamai mipnei chatati. There's no place that's healthy. There's no place that's tom, that's pure, that's healthy in my flesh because of your anger. There's no peace in my bones because of my sin. I did something wrong. And again, this is a world which is not the world in the way that we understand theologically anymore, that a man sins and God punishes immediately. That's not, we have Olam Haba and other things. But here, right, this is, you punish me, God. Excuse me, I sinned, and for that I was punished. Ki avonotai avru roshi, ki masach chavei yichabdu mimeni. My sins have covered my head like a heavy burden. They are too much for me, right? And this seems to be this verse seems to explain the verse before it. Why is there no healthy spot? Because my sins have covered my head. So is it that the guilt of the sins and the feeling badly? Is it that God is punished? But it's whichever way. It's too much. It's too much pain. It's too much difficulty that I am experiencing due to the mistakes, terrible errors that I made, the sins. Continuing verse 6, pasuk vav, hivishu namaku chaburotai mipnei ivalti. My wounds, they stink and they fester because of my foolishness. Right? They give a bad odor. They're blistering. All sorts of different sort of understandings. And again, right? So this is going back to chatati. This is all because of my sins, that now that this has happened, my sins and my foolishness to sin. Na'aveti shachoti ad me'od kol hayom koder ilachti. I've been contorted. I'm bowed. All day I walk in darkness. The second we had it a couple of chapters ago. This about walking or being in darkness. I don't know where I'm going. It's like my shape is all messed up. I don't know where I'm going. It's dark. I have no, strong normative direct path to where I'm going. I'm all confused. I'm all tangled up in a sense. My loins are filled with agitation. My loins, my kidneys, right? Whether this refers to some problem and some sort of a stomach gut problem or something. And again, repeats what was said earlier. There is no healthy spot in my flesh. I am all sickness. Nabuch, the person we know, I'm sure people or knew of people like this who everything that could go wrong went wrong for them at some point, health-wise. And so that's what he says. I'm in a weakened state. I'm sick. Nothing about me is healthy, and takes blame for it. It's my fault. It's my fault, and that's why there's burning in my flesh, and that's why there's this heavy burden, and etc. etc. Continuing verse 9. Nifugoti v'nidketi ad ma'od. Sha'adti minahamat libi. I'm weakened and I'm almost completely broken. I cry out because of the roaring of my heart. So right, this is the person. They realize that they're in a terrible state. They're broken, and they, humbled, broken, the difficulty, and therefore is trying to fall out. Well, God will help him. Will a colleague, a friend help him? Adonai, negdecha kol ta'avati va'anachti mimcha lo nistara. God, all my desire is before you. All my sighing is not hidden from you. I'm crying out to you, God. I'm trying. I'm crying loud. I'm speaking softly. I'm speaking in English. I'm speaking in Hebrew, right? I'm trying to reach you. I'm trying to libi, right? But this is, this is it's nothing is being seemingly at this point. Nothing is being responded to, I should say. And then verse 11, pasuk yidal, libi Sachar char azavani kochi v'or einai gam heim ein iti. My heart flutters, my strength has left me, and the light of my eyes, it's not with me. Right? So my heart is beating rapidly, I have no strength, I can't see, right? Again, going back to the sense of sickness and in a sense loneliness of calling out first to God, and now we see in verse 12, Ohavai v'rei mineged nig'i ya'amodu ukravai merochok amadu. My friends and companions, they stay far away from me because of my plague. And my brothers, my relatives, they also stay far away. Right? So this is, two phrases, Ohavai, those who love me, my friends, and my relatives, those who sort of, whatever it is, nobody is near him. Everybody is distant. Everybody is far away. I think of this and this chapter, and I think Sarah we didn't discuss it yet. The book of Eov, and who's eventually, not eventually, early on in the book, after his kids are killed and his wealth is gone, and then he's terribly sick and he's alone and he's outside the city in the place where he was such a respected individual before that. And he does have these three friends who come and spend time with him while he's sitting there silent, and they're silent, and then a fourth person comes along also to spend time with him. This person is saying, even that I don't have. Everybody's distant from me. I'm bad luck. Nobody wants to come near me. It's a terrible, terrible state. Continuing verse 13. Vayinak shu mevakshe nafshi v'dorshe ra'ati dibru havot umirmot kol hayom yegu. And those who seek my life, what do? They have plots against me. They're planning against me. Those who want to hurt me, they speak ill of me, and they lie about me day and night. Va'ani kecheresh lo eshma. But I am like a cheresh. I'm like somebody who doesn't speak. Uchielem lo yiftach piv. I'm like a deaf man. I don't hear. I'm like a mute person. I don't open my mouth. I'm trying to just ignore it. I'm trying to stay away for it. I can't hear those words. I'm already in such a bad place. It's only going to be worse if I continue. So I need to put that out of my mind in order to have some hope whatsoever, even as I'm sick and even as I feel alone. He continues with that. I become like a man who does not hear and whose mouth there are who doesn't argue back. Right? That's just the way that I'm acting. I'm not responding at all. And that's the way people see me. They say things about me, and I don't respond to them. Now, why don't I respond to them? It's not that I've given up, but rather, verse 16, Ki lecha Adonai hochalti, ata ta'aneh Adonai Elohai. And why don't I answer them? Because I put all of my hope in you, God, that you'll answer me, God, that you'll be the one to respond to me and help me in my time of trouble and my time of pain. Ki amarti pen yismechuli b'mot raglai alai higdilu, because I said, these people, they're going to rejoice at my downfall. When my foot slips, then they're going to look even closer and say, you see, he wasn't so great, he wasn't so hot, he wasn't such a wonderful guy. Look, he's falling down. And so I can't put my hopes in them. Are some of these former friends? Is it just some enemies? The friends are not doing anything, but these are some of the enemies. Is it referring to as sickness? There are all sorts of different things that it could be referring to. But clearly, more than anything else, the point is I am turning to you, God. That's who I'm turning to. Ki ani latzela nachon. We're in verse 18, pasuk Yudchet. Umach ovi negdi tamid. Because when I'm ready to stumble, and my pain is always before me, ki avoni agid ed'ag mechatoti, because of my sins. I worry on account of my sins. I made terrible mistakes, and now karma is coming back. God, you're punishing me. This is my fault. Again, we live in a very different theologically understood world, but in the world in which he lives, you sin and you get punished, and that's why I'm worried. I'm worried because of my sins, and I'm worried I might sin more, and there's going to be additional punishment. So, and then he goes on in verse 20, V'rabu sanunai shaker. And in addition to all the things that I've done wrong, and the pain and the punishment, the loneliness that I feel as a result of that, I have these enemies who are trying to almost, sort of add insult to injury. They're going further. My worries are exacerbated by the fact that there are so many. I have all these enemies, these people who are just trying. They're liars who are trying to, to make things even worse for me. And listen to how he describes them. And it's similar, we've talked about him and his enemies and the difficulties. And he continues with a similar language in 21. Umishalmei ra'a tachat tova. Yistenuni tachat rodfi tov. How does he say? Who are these enemies of his? They're the ones who repay evil for good. They hate me for pursuing good. Right? They're ungrateful. I've done things for them. And what do? They're rodef. I've searched after, I've pursued good. I've wanted goodness, and all they want is destroy me for the ideas of the goodness that I am trying to do. I'm trying to run this country, to run this world, to make things good, to have a moral and just society. And these people, these evil people, they don't want that. Maybe it will cut into their fraudulent business practices, whatever it might be. They are causing me more irritation, more worries, more sickness, more stress. And the only thing that I can turn to is you, God. And because the only thing that the Mishorer, that David, that the author here is able to turn to is God, we have verses 22 and 23. Al ta'azveni Adonai Elohai, al tirchak mimeni. Don't forsake me. Don't abandon me, God. God, do not be far away from me. Right? He's lost his strength and his right. And if you think right, so he's asking God, he's lost his strength. So he's saying, God, don't abandon me. I need you because I need strength. And he talked earlier about his relatives and his friends stay far away from him. They're distant from him. So he's asking God, al tirchak mimeni. Don't be distant from me. I need your support more than ever. Chusha le'ezrati Adonai tishuati. Hasten, right? Come quickly. Maher, come to my help, God. Be my salvation. All right, so the second to last verse, the one Al Tazveni Hashem Al Tirchak Mimeni, verses like that in Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, Avinu Malkeinu, stuff of that sort when we are turning to God. But ultimately, this is a person who's in a difficult place. And this is a person who's crying out to God. Interestingly, I mentioned Eov before. There's a big difference here between Eov and this the author of this psalm, the author of this parak of Tehillim. Eov says, "I didn't do anything wrong." And at one point in the book, he does admit he's done some things wrong, but his punishment is so absurdly beyond what he deserves that he calls God unjust. This person is not calling God unjust. I've made many sins. I've made many errors. I've made many mistakes. And God, I'm asking you to come to me. I've made mistakes. I'm admitting my errors, and I want you to, we want you to come. I want you. I'm begging you to come back to me. And so, this is a psalm, and like some of the others that we've discussed recently, it has seemingly allusions and ideas that seem to be very much like Rosh Hashanah, especially Yom Kippur. There seems to be a vidui, a confession here. It's not just that I'm being punished, and it's not that I'm being punished unjustly. I'm being punished, and I deserve to be punished. And what I've done has been very, very wrong. And unfortunately, the only thing I've left in life, I don't have a healthy body. I don't have friends who can help me. The only thing that I can have is God, and therefore, al terchak mimeni. He asked God, don't be distant, quickly come to my assistance.